Welkom. Dit is de podcast To Master Your Life nummer 153. In contact met je intuïtie. Een dieptegesprek met Martina. Mijn naam is Vilna.nl en ik heb er super veel zin in. Hallo lieve dames en mensen. Vandaag wel een hele speciale podcast, want ik zit met niemand minder dan Martina. Zij is een ongelooflijk bijzondere vrouw. We doen het vandaag eens anders via Zoom. Joy zit op dit moment in Oostenrijk en ik zit in Nederland. En ze heeft toch tijd kunnen maken om met ons deze podcast op te nemen, zodat ook jij geïnspireerd kan worden door haar prachtige, bijzondere gaven en kracht en energie. Zij gelooft namelijk dat iedereen zijn mentale skills gewoon kan ontwikkelen om een andere ervaring in het leven te hebben dan waar je nu zit. Dus in een ander bewustzijn te komen. Ze heeft 2 prachtige bestsellers. How to use your intuition to change your life. En, let op, sleep your fat away. Nou, who doesn't want that? Hè? Ze is ontzettend gepassioneerd om anderen echt in hun kracht te zetten, in hun intuïtie te gebruiken, om hun intelligentie die van binnen zit, ons zelfhelend vermogen, echt meer te gebruiken om jou die potentie te laten benutten die je in je hebt. Dus hoe mooi sluit dat aan? Zij heeft het vermogen om in iemands onbewuste te duiken en ook te voelen waar de kern zit. Zij doet dat op 1-op-1 coaching, maar ze geeft ook lezingen en events. Een van haar succesprogramma's is Awaken Your Ideal Body. Dus lieve dames en mensen, we gaan dat vandaag wel in Engels doen. Maar hier is ze dan, geef er maar een groot virtueel applaus, want hier is Martina. Welcome.
Welcome. Well, thank you so much. Dankjewel.
Yeah, you speak a little Dutch. How come?
Well, I understand most of it, but I feel a little apprehensive speaking it because every time I do speak a little bit of Dutch, then I've had the reaction from the people around me, we're just laughing their butts off. They're like, oh my God, that's so funny when you speak Dutch. So I'm a little shy on the Dutch.
I can understand that. Dutch is not a very easy language to learn, is it?
Well, I think that's what people say about most languages, but what they say about Chinese, the little Chinese can speak it, the children can, so
you learn it from scratch. And you're now living in Austria, but where are you originally from?
I was born in England, so in Bristol, in the UK. And then I was raised in Salzburg, Austria. My parents always traveled a lot with us as children. And so we got to spend, fun times in different countries, from Bulgaria to, I was in the US when I was 4 years old. I went to school there for a year. And then we lived in Austria for a while. And then when I met my husband, Dr. Martina, I moved to Holland. Then from Holland, we moved to the States. And now we've just, sold up everything in the States. And I'm back in Salzburg, Austria. So it feels like full circle.
Yes. A new phase in your life. This is a new beginning, new opening to a new field. Right. Wow. And how were you as a child? What do you remember most from your childhood?
I had the most blissful childhood you can possibly imagine. So my parents, my dad is a physicist, my mom is a teacher, runs her own little private school here in Salzburg, Austria. Very, very loving, amazing parents. I got to travel the world, not because my parents had so much money, no, but because they cared about traveling too. And we would camp everywhere. They would drive, we would drive to Bulgaria, and they just showed us so much of the world, my brother and I. So I had a beautiful childhood until puberty hit. And then when puberty hit, I remember thinking, I've kind of lost something. I don't know. And then school and I don't know, then your first crush and your first love, right? It gets messy.
Yeah.
I was asking who was I as a child. Oh, joy, really joyful. But I was still then going by the name Nicola because I'm christened Nicola Joy. And my parents gave me the name Joy because they were actually told that they couldn't have children. So on the first page of my baby photo album, there's a letter from the doctor that tells them, really sorry, guys, but this is not going to happen. You're not going to have kids. And then, hey, presto, I came. So that's why I'm called Joy. And it took me a while to really own that name again. And now I can say I 100% own it, because that's what also my life mission is about. But it took me a while to understand that it could be that simple. It's really just about being joy.
Yeah, but as a metaphor also, that your parents were told that they couldn't have children. And then there you were, and there you were the joy, the joy of their lives. And your mission is to spread joy. And you found that out by not feeling joyful, by
losing the joy for myself. So I remember so specifically the moment when I was still married to my first husband. I had everything in life, really. I had, what you're told you need. I had the beautiful house. I had the beautiful children. I had everything looked perfect, but I was just not happy. And I didn't understand why not. Because I would do things that I would work, although I didn't need to. But I'd always be engaged, and I loved my kids, but there was something missing. And I remember one day I was really sick. I had a cough and everything, and I was still driving to work, of course. And I was driving my fancy car along the highway, and there was this split second where I was so fed up with everything that I thought, if I could just drive this car against some wall and be done with all of this, I'd go for it. And I was so shocked at my own thoughts that I thought, you need to change something, Joy. This has to stop.
Wow.
Get control of this. And, having studied psychology, and I've always been interested in the weird stuff. I've always, studied astrology and, finding water with the tensors. And I love that stuff. But it was always a secret passion. It wasn't something that I ever thought that I could, earn a living off, or yet alone that I could help other people, because I always felt I can't even help myself.
Yes. Oh, yeah, really. But that's what a lot of people will recognize, I think, because you have that inner guidance and that inner knowing that there is more to it than that you are living, but you just decide not to listen to it as much or something like that. You have to raise.
The two reasons why we don't listen. The one reason is because, we get the information, you should be doing this, right? But then we say the conscious mind, that little tiny computer, it's just a tiny part, right? That little mind will say, but how? How are you going to do that? And then all the stories will kick in. Everything that we have ever been told about ourselves, all our experiences, the past, basically, that kicks in, and that'll tell you why you're not even worth it. Oh, how are you going to get that done? You can't even get this done, and that, right? That whole chatter starts. And that's that glass ceiling. That's that stickiness. That's that feeling of, if only I could, but I don't know how. Yeah. So what I really love doing is really teaching how. I have invested more into personal development, from personal therapy to coaching to everything, than other people spend in homes. Yeah. And I do that because it was always important to me, no matter how little money I had as a student, right? How much money did I have? Hardly anything. But I just love learning. Mm-hmm. So I think it's really high time that all of us, and I'm sure there are many people listening to your podcast who already know so much, but not passing it on. We have to start sharing.
We have
to. The thing is, to share, we have to dare. There are two steps before that, actually. Nice. We have to first care. We have to care enough about ourselves that we say, okay, I'm worth this. I am worthy to live a full human life. That's step one. And then we also have to care enough about others to say, I also care not about myself, but also about my family, my environment, my community, right? That's the caring part. But once we care, a lot of us are empaths. We have no problem caring. But we struggle maybe sometimes with self-worth, with low confidence, with anxiety, whatever. And that stops us from sharing. So we're no longer connecting. We're no longer sharing our wisdom. That's what we used to do around the fires. We'd sit in circles and we'd share. We'd care enough to make time.
This is so good, because I compare it with a family, with children. I don't know if you recognize that as well, but if the relationship between the partner and yourself is imbalanced, you have all the attention of the world to give to your children, to share. But as soon as you're in a conflict, it shifts from the children to the conflict and the partner, and the children don't get enough attention or
the system goes up.
Yeah, and it's the same internally. If you have a conflict with yourself, you don't have enough attention for the rest in the world.
Well, you will also project that conflict that you have with yourself to the outside world. So you'll start seeing that conflict in your body, in relationships outside, in your business, in it has to, because we're all just a hologram, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I know that sounds a little spooky.
So everybody needs to put self-care on top of their agenda.
Yes, and yet it is such a narrow path in a way between it's self-care and healthy self-love, or is it narcissism? So, that's where the compassion piece comes in. And that's why I feel so passionate about teaching children, because you see, compassion is not something we're given. It's something we learn. But if we are not learning it as children, how can we teach it as adults or as parents? Yeah. And so, yes, we have to have compassion for ourselves. But when I have compassion for myself, I also have to extend that out to the outside world. And that's where it becomes hard, because, our brain's judgmental. It's like, are you a friend or are you an enemy? It's just that simple.
Yeah, true.
And where the sharing can sometimes, come with fear. Am I good enough to share? But also, if I share, will there be enough? Then this whole, the system that we're living in, it's a patriarchy still. It's a hierarchy. There's not a lot of collaboration and compassion and care and let's all win going on. Yeah. So, and right now the system's crumbling. So I think a lot of us are feeling that shift. And we're seeing it in the health statistics. We're seeing it in the mental health statistics. We're seeing it in societies. I mean, ask the hotlines what's going on right now.
Yeah.
People are being shaken in their foundation. And that's why it's even more important that we keep finding joy. And not me as a person. I'm just a vessel, right? But that innate joy that we all have inside of us. Really?
Because you started to feel joy as soon as you decided something has to change. And because you were willing to drive your car against a wall or a tree.
I had to go down.
Yeah, there was a shift in your mind or in your body that said, no way, you have a mission, you have something here that...
You have a responsibility. That's step one. So step one is always awareness, right? Noticing, oh my goodness, something needs to change, right? Yeah. But then the next step is really claiming up responsibility, because you see, many of us will not be happy with what we have. And so I wish it would change, but we're still kind of stuck in the victim state. This is happening to me, and life's so unfair. And only when this happens, then I could. First, I've got to do this, and then I'll find my joy. No,
conditionally,
you've really got to flip it, and that flipping that takes courage, and then claiming the responsibility and really saying, everything that I'm facing in life right now is because I made some decision, whether it was conscious or unconscious, that created this. And that's why, when people come to me for coaching and for mentoring, then that is the first conversation that we have, to be really straight on that. I will only help people on one-on-one if they're willing to claim responsibility and they have a big, juicy goal they want to go for. They need to know, okay, I know what I don't want, but what do I want? And, that can often take 1 or 2 sessions to really hone that out. That vision of the future. What is it that you want?
And then that's the same thing that happened to you. You went inside and found out what was it that you wanted.
I keep going inside. I've noticed that the universe, I call it the universe, knocks me literally on my back, or gives me a kind of slap on my butt every time I need to go inside. I need to go inside. Hey, check. And then after, claiming responsibility, it's really practicing what you've decided, saying, okay, change can only happen if I change something. I'm going to have to change the way I think. I'm going to have to really check in with my beliefs and the stories I'm telling myself. And that's why it's just helpful to have a coach or to have someone that you can use as a clean mirror.
Correct. Yeah.
We're saying, you're bullshit stuff right now. That's
somebody who's daring it for you to confrontate you. And that got
the daring. You've said it. And then takes courage. Yes. It takes courage. And, yes, when we see each other on our sizzle reels on social, we can believe that, oh my God, it was easy for her, right? But I can guarantee you, it doesn't matter which social structure you're coming from, which gender you are, from which religion you are, it doesn't really matter. We all have these challenges. We all have these obstacles. We all have this little thing we've got to carry and that we get to keep looking at. And it's just, let's make it a joyful journey and let's help each other do that. That's my thing.
Yeah, and maybe joy is not even the goal. Maybe it is just living a life
with joy.
Yeah, where you feel joy, even when there is nothing to be happy about.
There you go, and that's the difference. And that took a while to figure out, because there's a difference between joy and happiness. Because I always thought, I just want to be happy, but happiness is always defined by something on the outside changing. Right. So when I have this, then I'll be happy. But joy is different. You can even feel joy when you're grieving.
Yeah.
The word is saudade, because it's a Portuguese word, and then it only exists in Portuguese. Saudade.
What is the Portuguese word? Repeat.
Saudade.
Saudade.
Saudade. I hope the Portuguese are not cringing in their seats now. But
saudade.
It's that joy that we can feel even when we're grieving something in the past. It's that kind of gratitude that we feel for the times we had. So I noticed that when my grandmother Peggy passed away, and she passed at 97, and she was an amazing woman. And it was totally okay that she decided, right, I've had enough, right?
Yeah.
But I remember going through that grief process with such an open heart for the first time. I didn't numb myself. I didn't distract myself. I was like, I'm going through this full on. Yeah. And I noticed how this grief would just wash through me. And I'd be sitting in a plane, and then woof, I'd start crying. And I would just let those tears roll, feeling, wow, yeah, Peggy, you were so special. Thank you. And, I'm no longer afraid of those emotions coming through. I can just do it, right? And I know it's just an energy and motion in my body. And I don't have to label it as something. I can just notice it and let it go. Yeah. So I teach children, but also 96-year-olds. So simple things like the switch, use your body, use your brain as the computer that it is, and know that you can change things. And it doesn't have to be hard. It can be easy.
Now, as soon as you just go through the emotions, you get to that deeper part in yourself, whether it's gratitude, whether it's joy, whether it's acceptance. But what we tend to do is that computer again, I think, is that we learn all these values about how to deal with emotions, how to deal with loss, and that is a big thing, and that it's terrible, and that you cannot cry in front of other people, and that you are weak if you show your vulnerability. That's why we keep them under pressure, or how do you say that? You don't
under the lid, right?
Yeah, like a ball under the water, and then you don't feel that joy, even when you are grieving. That you were stuck. You get stuck in that grief or in that attachment.
Well, to feel great joy, you have to be also able to feel great grief.
Exactly.
It's a matter of bandwidth. And that's where women usually have an easier time, because we have a bigger bandwidth of emotions. And it's more innate to us. It would be, if we're connected to our divine feminine, to be able to feel those emotions. Because that's also so important in relationships, right? That we can be that counterpoint to the structured, linear, arrow-like male energy, right? That is the balance.
Yeah.
But what we're seeing currently in relationships and really all over the world is that the male-female is completely out of whack. We've been facing thousands of years of the suppression of the feminine. Now the feminine is uprising, and we see things like Me Too and but it's now tipping the other way. Yeah. And I really hope that we find balance in our genders. And I think the only way that we can do that is if we start with ourselves. And hey, I've been teaching this stuff for 10 years dedicated, and who are the people in the workshops? It's 70% at least women.
Yeah.
And the men are just lagging behind. They really need to get their act together now, because women are taking over, and they have been elevating themselves, rising, also because it was globally necessary. Mm-hmm. But come on, guys.
Yeah. the energy needs to be balanced again. And I think by just standing still and contemplate and feel, there we get that balance in ourselves, and then the balance also will be in the world around us more.
Well, yeah, I think, yes, definitely. We need to all make time for more stillness.
Yeah.
So friggin' busy the whole time that you're like, what are we running
for? Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
How about just taking this in now and saying, okay, let's just notice. And then it's also so that's here. It is the gut brain too, and taking action. So really the call to anyone listening, come on, you all have a gift to share. Yeah. There's something you can do.
That also starts with the thing you said earlier, you said caring, self-care, caring, daring, but also sharing is also, for what I think, a way to act. Because when you start sharing, you have to take the responsibility to do it, which will help you actually to get into that doing part. Don't you agree?
Yes, I totally agree. So I think I'm feeling that we should share a useful tool, because this is a really cool tool that helped me change a lot. And I use it every single day, numerous times. And I could write a whole book about the miracles that have happened for myself, but also for everybody that I teach this. And it's called the Crystalline Command. You see, remember how we said that sometimes we can get so stuck in but how am I going to do that? Right? I want to, but how? So to get that conscious mind into check, right? Because those are the moments that we want to notice. Okay, I got it. Okay, you little conscious mind, you might not know, but there's a higher mind, and there's that higher intelligence, and there's that quantum field, and there's just that information. It's out there. I just need to find it. So this tool will help you anytime you don't know how. It'll help you anytime you want to do something very consciously. Anytime you want to set an intention. This is my real big tip to anyone. To be more conscious by taking that split second before you, I don't know, board a plane, before you do a broadcast, before you cook a meal, before you get out of bed in the morning, set an intention. Be that captain of your ship and say, okay, where is this going? What do we want? Yeah. And how we do it. Okay, so anyone who's in a safe place right now, go ahead and close your eyes. Close your eyes and then roll them up as if you're looking through the crown of your head. Keep them rolled up there. And then say silently inside of yourself, even if I don't know how to find my joy and create more joy in my life and share that joy, all I do know is it is so now. And I am fulfilled. I delete all that could stop me. And I download everything I need to do so now with grace, ease, and joy. Thank you. So it is, so it shall be, or something even better. Now take one more breath. And then open your eyes. Okay, wow. Now notice what happened in your brain. Just notice.
Brought a smile on my face. Yeah. Because it's very, the intention is very pure. So it reaches my soul.
I like how you said that. So we did a few fun things there. We rolled our eyes up, and what that does to the brain, it brings the brain's frequencies from possibly busy beta, right? That's usually where we're in when we're super busy. It brought it into alpha, and then it brought it into theta. Now, the theta brainwave zone is a super relaxed, harmonious brainwave zone. And that we usually can only access if we're a trained meditator, right?
Yeah.
Going to sleep. So this is a way how you can consciously access that theta brainwave state, which is very good for your brain, because you want train your brain to relax, and you want to train it to relax at will. That's what I suggest, because it's really cool when you can do that. Then by bringing it into theta and stating this command, And this was just an example because I just wanted to use something that I'm hoping everybody can say yes to.
I relate to, yeah.
If anything, you say, even if I don't know how to be on time for my next meeting, all I do know is it is so now, whatever. So you use the structure of even if I don't know how. And that takes the whole conflict inside of your brain and system out because you're admitting, you're saying, even if I don't know how.
You're acknowledging you don't know. Yeah.
Then you go ahead and you say, all I do know is it is so now. You're like, phew, but here goes.
Acceptance. Yeah.
And I am fulfilled. That's where you're telling your brain, come on, it's good. Then you go ahead and you say, okay, now delete, delete, delete. And this is where I like imagining visual sort of things is like a database being.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Take it out.
All the stuff that doesn't work, you don't need it anymore.
But it's not serving me anything, right? That could block me. And then you go and you say, and I download. And I like imagining the DNA sort of in holographic colors. I mean, like whatever floats there. You download it all, and then you say, thank you. And you're tapping into gratitude. And we know that gratitude creates abundance, will bring you up, right? And then you go ahead and you seal the deal and you say, so it is, so it shall be, or something even better. And that keeps the door open to the quantum field. And you're also surrendering. You're saying, okay, now that I've done my due diligence, I let it go. Yeah. And it really, it works so well. So use it and teach it to others.
That's a perfect tip. That's really wonderful. And you can do that wherever you are, whatever is happening.
Yeah, but just don't drive a car while you're closing your eyes.
Right? Rolling up your eyes and closing your eyes and rolling up. But you can do it anytime.
Nicely grounded. Okay, that's the security.
Doesn't matter, Joy. It doesn't matter if you, for example, some people tell me, well, when I do affirmations or intentions, I don't feel it. It doesn't happen. For me, I think it does help if you do it with attention. If you do it with
intention, number one. And number two, they're saying a very true thing. I'm not feeling it. Well, if you're not feeling it, you're also not believing it. You're not really tuned into it. Exactly. So what I teach the kiddies and the oldies, it doesn't matter. I say, you've got to create a vision of your future that is so friggin' inspiring to you that when you think about it, of course, you've got to imagine it. It gives you good feelings. Yes. So when one of the many times that I sort of felt a little stuck was when I was working and, working on the following and creating all this free content and teaching. And I was freaking burnt out. I was just like, I'm not feeling it anymore. I'm having to drag myself out of bed. Sometimes I don't even know which country I'm waking up in. I miss my kids. I was like, no. And I then noticed I had lost my juicy vision of the future. Yeah. I just didn't see it anymore. And then I had to really dive in to say, okay, what would give me joy? What if anything was possible? What would I want? And really, I took a whole day self-care of, I went to a spa place and I did sauna, cold plunge, massage. I was like, what is it? And then I found, okay, so if I could have the craziest dream on this planet, then my dream is that when I pass on, I have left a legacy of joy. I want to be known as one of the greatest female philanthropists this world has ever seen, right? I really made it big.
You're big. Yeah, why not? Yeah.
Of course, I don't know consciously how, but does it matter?
No, that's what I was going to say. It doesn't matter. Even how and to quantify it doesn't matter. If there's even one person you can inspire to be joyful, that may be okay, but that doesn't matter. So stop thinking of you have to get this result. Just enjoy the ride and follow your intuition and trust.
We want the plan, right?
Exactly.
But okay, step one, step two. There are many people who will sell you all kinds of steps. Do this. Yeah. And some will work and some of it won't work. Yeah. But as you say, it's really the journey and making that the most joyful we can. So once I decided on that and said, you know what, it's also not spreading joy, because that was my mission statement. I'm here to spread joy while I help myself and others thrive. I noticed spreading really, no. Being joy. So I've really that for myself. ever since I've made that little last tweak, it's up leveled again. Wow. And I'm noticing that way more people are ready to talk about this stuff and are ready to say, yeah, how do we teach this in schools? How do we get this out there so that everybody knows?
Yeah, we're getting there. As soon as you dare to trust, there's daring again, dare to trust the process, I believe that the abundance will follow. People,
always
does. Yeah.
Always does.
So how do you, because when I'm in events, what I notice is when I'm giving seminars or teachings, or that a lot of people don't have their timeline straight. They don't have their timeline correct.
Well, right?
Yeah, they don't even have a future. They cannot, when I say, okay, what does your future look like? They don't even know. Or the timeline is switched. They look into the past all the time where the future should be. So that could be when you set the intention, also set your timeline straight, make a future, see when you are at the end of the timeline, what did you manifest?
That's right. So that's where I'll bring my 5 steps for people who are saying, yeah, but how do I do that? I wrote this book, How to Use Your Intuition to Change Your Life. And I put my 5 steps in there. So this was so fun. When I wrote the book, I had a coach, right? And he was like, okay, John, give me. And he was this very male, very, I don't know, interesting person, but really good, right? Yeah. So he got, he said, okay, John, you're writing your book. And I said, what? That was not the deal. And he said, yeah, you are. You're writing a book. Okay, so now tell me, what are the 5 steps? And I was like, what do you mean the 5 steps? And he said, okay, so what do you do? What do you do? And then I said, okay, in that call, I defined them because I knew them, but I was like, maybe that's not right. So I'll give them to you.
Yes,
Step one is step out of the buzz and tune into yourself. Really, you have to make time for yourself every day. Start out with 10 minutes in the morning, silence, not on your phone, no music, just you focusing on your breath. Do that every morning. It's the best way to start a day. Then extend that. You've got to train yourself to tune out of all this craziness. We're living in a time where information is coming at us in such a speed and such a quantity. We're so interconnected that our brains are literally getting frazzled. So step out of that, make time for yourself, get into silence. That's step 1. Step 2 is learn to say no gracefully, especially if you're a woman, but also guys pretty much suck at it too, because we usually only bring the no as the very, very last resort. Or even, in retrospect, we say, well, actually, I meant no. I might have said yes, but I actually meant no.
Yeah.
So there's a way, really, and I share in my book, I've really tried to make it as practical as possible. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be just a book that's going to be in a shelf and never be read. It's a thin little book. You can read it real quick. I'll even read it for you. And in the back, I have a whole resource section where I share all the tools, do this, do that, right? So I've made it practical. So saying no can be a thing. But you've got to have strong boundaries. Because if you want to take time out, right? Mm-hmm. Say you want to take time out for yourself and say, I'm going to do this every day. Yeah. And then your partner, your kids, your boss, whatever says, no, but I need you in that time. That's, right? You're going to have to learn to say no to that. So it's a big thing of what to say a hell yes to and what is a hell no. There isn't anything in between, really not. Mm. Those maybes, they just get us really messed up.
Yeah. But it brings us to ourselves, because when you acknowledge that you're afraid to say no, then you have to work on that part first. Then I have to heal something. I'm afraid of rejection, or I don't have whatever cause it is, trauma from the past, or you have to heal that first. So, and if you don't know where to start with little things that are safe to say no to. So you get acquainted, or how do you say that? You get used to saying no and experiencing that it's safe, that nothing will happen, that people won't reject you, or
they will. That's
but in the end, it's okay.
I love what you're saying. And that brings us right into step 3. I just switch it. I say you have to say no first.
Yes.
You have to define your boundaries.
Yeah.
You'll stretch them. You will learn. And that's just my prediction. You will see that it's more and more fun if you give yourself more and more space. Absolutely. But for some, we just have to start with here. But we will feel rejection. People will abandon us.
Yes.
judge us and not like us because we're saying no. But if you are saying yes to other people when you actually mean no, you are saying no to yourself every single time.
Yeah.
And it gets us messed up. I used to be the worst people pleaser, really. And I still catch myself. I have to tweak every time because and I love seeing people happy around me. Yeah. But you see, if that becomes my main, I did that, especially when I was a young mom, firstly married. God, I was Miss Perfect. It's like, everybody's got to be happy. Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, we have to say no. And then in step 3, I really give you a lot of tips on how to, I call it forgive and release joyfully. Because after myself, when was my first therapy? I think my parents sent me to therapy the first time when I was 16, right?
Wow.
So, and I know a lot, and I studied the stuff myself. At some point, we somehow seem to have been taught that forgiving and letting go is hard, it's painful, it's expensive. It takes a really long time. Yeah. And it's not true. It really is not true. I think one of the things that my grandma Peggy taught me so well was how to you've got to let it go. You've got to let it go, and you've got to keep your focus on where you want to go. Oh, yeah. And she was a master at that. She grew up, imagine this, my grandma Peggy was not only the first generation of women who actually were allowed to get a training as a physiotherapist, which was unheard of because as a wife, why would you do that? And especially in her social setting. So she was a physiotherapist. She worked as a physiotherapist until she was 75 years old. Wow. She loved her job, right? And she grew up, her dad was also a doctor, and he ran one of the first mental health clinics, private mental health clinics in the UK. And she grew up in that. So half of the house would be the patients, and the other half would be them children. There were like 4 children and the parents. So they would have dinner with the patients. And they would really be closely intertwined with these, mainly the kids of wealthy aristocrats who had crazy kids and didn't want to take care of them or couldn't, right? So she grew up in this environment, which must have been very interesting. And I remember telling me that, when I was around 8 years old, I had to get Mr. Smith for dinner, and Mr. Smith had cut his throat, had committed suicide. And she saw that as an 8-year-old. And I was like, oh my God, how did you deal with that? And she said, oh, it wasn't a big deal. I talked about it with my dad, and my dad said, well, it's really not really that much different than the bunnies that are slit for dinner or, that sort of thing. And it was talked about, and she moved on. And she was one of the most loving, fun, amazing people that I know. And that's just one of her stories.
Maybe she learned already very at a young age that life is also filled with all the hard parts, but we feel that are hard parts, but are just part of life. And she knew that from a very young age.
And that's exactly why I felt so compelled to create the Joyful Kids. Yeah. Because I remember sitting in an airplane back teaching China, nice first business class. And I was sitting there and I was pretty tired, but I felt fulfilled. But then I got the newspaper. It was the New York Times, which I really never read, but I had it. And it was the leading article was all about the, what do they call them? The refugee camps on the borders of Mexico, where these children were being separated from their parents, and thousands of children were being contained in these terrible conditions, and they were committing suicide. Yeah. And I was reading this article, and I the blood drained from me, and I was like, how is this possible? How is it possible that in an industrialized Western world, we have this happening and nobody is doing something about it? And then I was like, oh, but who am I to do something about it? And that whole thing. And then I thought, okay, but what if there was something that I could do? And then I thought, okay, I unfortunately don't have the financial means yet to provide them with water and food and you just save every kid. And there are a lot of people who are working on that, and they've got the system set up. I'd have to start from scratch, but I could help a kid that's going through a crisis deal with it. And I could teach others to say, listen, life is going to be challenging. There are always going to be things that'll stress you out, that'll make you feel sad and angry and all that. And that's just part of life. But you don't have to get crushed by that. Yeah. You don't have to turn out to be a victim, a bitter, angry, sad person, because I've also seen the opposite. I I've had the honor to coach people who have seen the most horrific things happen, their family killed in front of their eyes, and they're out there doing amazing stuff.
Yeah.
And yes, they will tell the story, but it's not, oh, look at poor me and I couldn't do anything because, my dad was not nice to me and whatever. You know what I mean?
They take ownership, and they get through it as an emotion that also passes.
Well, that's what I studied. I said, what did they do? What are they doing different?
Yeah, the success strategies. Yeah. Well, nice. So that's step 3. Step 3 is to
believe and forgive joyfully. Make it a festival. And I teach how. And then step 4 is to claim your desires.
Yeah.
That's right. What do I want? And really tune into that. Embody those desires. Make a vision board. Talk about your future more often than you talk about your past. Really claim ownership.
Yeah.
If we don't name it, we can't claim it.
No.
Write them down. And there, it can sometimes get a little tricky sharing your desires with other people because not everybody is accustomed to that.
Mm-hmm.
And not everybody is able to wish you well. Just
yes, choose the environments. Yes, make them believe in you as well.
And then step 5 is, I call it tune into the universe. Keep that connection open. Connect to your highest self, your quantum self. There are lots of different names for that. That's what I teach in the connection process. That's what I do in my sessions. I really aim to give help for self-help, because when we all have that connection to our innate wisdom, we do. Intuition is our highest intelligence, and it doesn't matter whether you're educated, healthy, or sick or not. What does make a difference, though, is only joyful people are intuitive and completely connected. The moment we get into depression and the lower states, it's hard, but it's not possible. But you just have to work a little harder. You have to make time for it. You have to learn how to calm your brain, how to start feeling good things. It'll just take practice, but every child is intuitive, extremely so until they're 7. Then we start educating them. And whether you're male or female doesn't matter. And it's just a matter of practice.
But it's a beautiful process. And the beautiful part is that I think when you go through these steps that you're mentioning, the skill you are actually getting then is to be the observer of yourself, because you are getting conscious and you are not as attached to the conflicts and the thoughts that used to distract you from being you. Can you follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, I like what you said.
Yeah. And I think that's what the steps lead to in the end. It's the process, but also giving you the skills to get used to a new observer of yourself, actually.
Trust yourself more.
Really. Yeah, trust yourself more.
We've got to trust ourselves before we start trusting other selves. Millions, billions are spent every year to control the public mind.
Yeah.
So, this is for all skeptics. I don't know, intuition and tap into the universe. But think about it. What are you listening to right now? Yeah. Every song in the radio, every buzz that's going on, every time people, I don't know how many people still fall asleep next to the television. All the stories. All that, just watch out. Take control of your mind.
So you were mentioning that you're not reading the newspapers, and I bet you also don't watch the news then. And
I don't even have TV.
Me too. Yeah, because those are all energies and hypnotic thoughts that get into your mind, take over, and before you know it, you unconsciously act in a way you don't want.
The estimates go from 2, depending on who you listen to, but we're at least getting 34 gigabyte. And our conscious mind, so that part that we're using right now to pretend we're really clever and cool and we're talking, right? No, I know, you're just kidding, right? So our conscious mind can only process 116 pieces of information per second, right? 116 straws, that's, imagine, right? Now, our unconscious mind that is always awake, always listening, always recording, can process millions of pieces of information per second. And when we're being flooded with gigabytes and the conscious mind can only control 116, what's going on in the background? And that's what we need to start understanding, and understand that you can control that. You need to, if you want to change your life.
And that's why the environment is so important. In which environment are you in? Because you will become it if you're not aware of.
You become like the 5 people that you spend most of your time with.
Exactly. So make sure
anybody in an unhappy family structure is not right now going, oh my God. So now the job is, how can you make the structure that you are in right now more harmonious? Exactly. And the way you can do that is making sure that you are doing more of what you love, that you're taking time for yourself. You're making self-care, self-love top of your priority, because you have realized that you can only give from a full vessel. And the best way of giving is from an overflowing vessel. You need to make sure that you somehow find your joy every day. Just start doing something where you say, this is cool, I'll paint a picture just for the heck of it. Yeah. Or I'm going to take my shoes off and run in a puddle for a second.
Yeah.
I'm going to go hug a tree, or I'm going to pet an animal, or, that there's so much you can do. And getting out in nature is always a good idea. Turning off your screens, always a good idea. Yes. Conscious breath work for free. You could do any time of the day. And these are the things, I think, if we just start doing it more often and talk about it and say, this is what I do. Oh, I need to take my power break now, right? So I do this 3 times a day. I'm like, I'm out, 15 minutes, see you later. And my environment is totally okay with it. They know. Yes. They would never dare contest.
No, exactly. Because you're so convinced, and you just do it. So they have
I'm a nice person.
Yes.
They know. And we all deserve that, really.
Really? Wow, Joy, it's such a joy to talk to you. Oh, you already answered a lot of my questions, actually, just by telling your beautiful story. Another question I get a lot is people asking me, how do I know the difference between intuition and fear? Because sometimes people say, oh, no, it's not for me. No, thank you. No, I don't feel like it. But then I noticed that it's really just fear and not.
Okay, so got it. Intuition is the ability to know what you need to know when you need to know it without needing to rationalize it. So what that means is that your innate response, the very, very, very first thing that you felt, that you saw, that you heard, that you knew, so I'll go into that, that is intuition. When let's say it's like us, right? We've never met. But before we met, we had some contact on WhatsApp, I think it was, right? Yeah. So that very first time when I got the message, I already knew. Intuition already knew. Is this a yay or is this a nay? Intuition said, this is a yay. So I followed that. Now, when I say yay to something and intuition says yay, will maybe 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 days later, some voice come and say, I don't know, was that a good idea? And right? Yeah, but what is that? That is very, very usually often the mind, right? The mind stepping in and either bringing something from the past that you're relating to, or it's some of the other person's stuff. So that's, what you then have to look at again. But the very, very first response, the very quick thing, that's intuition. Now, to understand how intuition speaks to you, it's very helpful to know your preferred channel of information. And this is something that I teach in the Quantum Intuition Bootcamp. It's an online course you can take where I walk you through the 5 steps, and we do all the processes and the meditations and all that stuff together. And there you get to elicit your preferred channel of information. That means you get to find out, what is my strongest channel? So where would intuition come in first? I'll give you an example. When I took this test many years ago doing the NLP training, I discovered, oh, wow, who knew? I always thought I'm super visual, right? I love beauty. I love decorating. I care about how I look. I have awesome dreams. I was 100% certain I'm visual. So I thought, okay, that makes sense. So sometimes I have very prophetic dreams, or I get these visual downloads. Now, did the test, discovered, no, my strongest channels, and they're both equally strong, are auditory and auditory digital. That means the things I hear and the conversation in my mind. So things you just know. So
funny this. I had exactly the same. Exactly. I also during my NLP, I thought visual, of course. And then exactly the same two came out the best.
So on to ourselves, right?
Yes.
So there goes. So we've got the auditory stuff, and then comes kinesthetic.
Yeah.
And then right at the bottom is visual. So what does that means? Intuition will speak to me. I will hear it. I will know it. Then I'll feel it. And then I'll see it. Wow. So by the time I get the visions, intuition has been kind of yelling at me. And I missed all that time. Now, does it really matter? No, but that time that we missed, we could have most likely spent on a more graceful journey. It could have been easier, maybe. So we might have made a detour. We might have made it harder for ourselves. That's why really eliciting your channel first is very helpful. And then it's really about training awareness, becoming and saying, oh, interesting. And I like being a researcher. It's just maybe my academic training. I note things down. I want to be specific. I want to measure my results.
Yes. How do you, because when I first noticed that I most of the time are a medium that receive information and just give it through my body and my voice, is when, for example, I'm talking to you and then all of a sudden I don't see it actually because I thought it was visual, but I hear and I know it, and sometimes I make movements with my hands or with my, and for example, a few weeks ago, somebody's grandpa passed away. And he came into my room, and the moment he came in, I just felt grandpa's energy there. And all of a sudden, I talk. I just use my voice and I say the words that grandpa used to say, and I put my hand on my cheek. And I told the guy that came inside, I said, it's okay. And the guy told me that his grandpa always used to do that. And that's...
You're a full body channel.
Now I realize that. But in the beginning, I just never, if you're not aware, then you just feel like I'm just...
Yeah, and you might even judge yourself and say, why would I do that? Why would I do that? We can't, right? Yeah. And that's fun that you share that. So I love that. So yes, when I see it's so interesting how all these things that I've created, say sleep your fat away and intuition and I have actually just created a puzzle that I wasn't even aware of me creating. Because you see, I started out this journey of teaching with kind of the highest level of, wackiness, which was the oracle training, where I said, okay, if I can channel someone as, I used to be such a perfectionist and control and blah, 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 and skeptic. Anybody can. So I did training and it's awesome. It's still one of my favorite trainings. But then I kind of let go of that because I thought, oh, this is just too wacky. People won't want it. And, the marketing took over and then it was, I don't know, different. But now I'm noticing it's coming back. I'm having conversations with people like you right now. And this would have been unheard of 10 years ago. So you're talking about what? Channeling? Really?
Yeah. They would say in the Netherlands, they would say zweverig. Do you know the word zweverig? Oh, that means like you are crazy.
Oh, yeah. Floaty.
Yeah. And now it's getting there. People are, waking up or feeling it or so. Oh, I really love this conversation. So I have another theme in my podcast. This means veelzijdig. And I'm going to give you some choices and you're allowed to say one or the other. And then of course some will be difficult. Mixed. But still choose the first intuition then, and then we'll talk about it. Okay, there we go. Happy or healthy?
Oh, healthy.
Doing or being?
Being.
A sweat lodge or ice bath?
Oh, ice bath.
Awareness or ego?
Awareness.
Naive or open-minded?
Open-minded. I can be naive sometimes, though. Holy moly, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Believing or seeing?
Oh, believing.
Therapy or self-reliance?
Self-reliance.
Pure nature or natural?
Pure nature.
Regular or alternative?
I'm for sure alternative.
Meditation or hypnosis?
Phew, that's a hard one.
Yeah.
Oh, meditation, because I do, but self-hypnosis is like meditation, but I'll take meditation.
All right. Follow your dreams or success is a choice?
I like follow your dreams better because success is a choice. Sounds it. I don't know.
Yeah. Awake or asleep?
Awake.
Oh. And maybe also awake or aware.
Well, I think one is the same as the other, right? It might be a synonym.
True. Life chooses for you or you choose life?
Oh, you choose life.
No. Taking chances or wait for it to happen?
I definitely take chances, and I have learned to sometimes wait for things to happen.
Yes. Left or right?
Left. Spontaneous left. Let's go left for change.
Let's go
left.
left.
I have a friend who's a police officer. Can I just say that?
Yes.
And he told me this thing is, did you know, Joy, that over 90% of all people, when they're running away, like say they're chasing someone as a policeman, right? They have been trained that they know 90% of all people always go right. So,
oh, really?
I said, no, I'm going to do left. Yeah.
Oh, why would they do that? Why would we go right?
Programming.
Oh, really? Yeah, programming. So maybe in the UK then, because there we drive on the.
We need research. Is it different in the UK? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, okay. Let's see. Healing power or vaccination?
Oh, what a healing powers. Definitely.
Definitely, yeah.
Are your best form of vaccination.
Yeah, exactly. Nature or nurture?
Well, nature nurtures. So I'll take nature.
Yeah. Yes or no?
Yes. Unless it's no.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Roy or Joy?
Well, for me, I have to choose me. Hello. Joy.
Okay, well.
Choosing themselves.
All right. Is there something that you would like to just come back to? Or...
Yes, I would love to close with an invitation to all ladies listening. Yes, I'm sorry, this is not for guys, but you've got a lot of other stuff too. And I do have a lot of offerings for gentlemen too. But this is just for the girls. I have created a Golden Goddess Circle. This is a group, or we are a group of now already over 500 people from all over the world, or 500 women. And we are gathering every week on Mondays at 9 a.m. Central European time. There'll be more time slots coming for also Americans and other time zones, but right now it's mainly like that.
Europe, yeah.
We gather every Monday to empower ourselves and each other and support each other in sacred sisterhood. And we're getting together because we all have the goal to create financial freedom for ourselves and those around us. So we gather every Monday. It's for free. And we are so enjoying our gatherings. You know, really magical stuff is happening. Every week is different. We record them, but we only send out the last recording. We don't keep an archive. These things just come and go. It's in the moment. And you're all welcome to join our Zoom room. I think we can have up to 500, but you know, not everybody always has time. And
yes.
Once you signed up, you get the recording of the last one. You get to see our agreements that we make. So we have very clear agreements because we are so passionate about keeping it a circle and hierarchy. And I'm actually also looking for more goddesses who are experienced in leading circles like this and leading, you know, gathering women and co-creating good together. So if anybody out there is listening to this and says, oh yeah, I want to be part of that, then do go to Martina.com and you'll find a tab where it says Golden Goddess Circle and sign up, because then you can check us out. You can read our agreements. You can see if this resonates with you. And yeah, we're growing like mushrooms and we'd love you to grow with us.
Wow. Yeah, be the goddess. Go for it. Yeah, exactly. And if I sign up, do I have to lead the circle or can I?
No. You sign up, you can join. You can join every Monday and see what we did. If you join and you say, wow, this is amazing, I'd be interested in leading a circle like this too, then I am right now scouting people. Of course, I've got to meet you all. I mean, this is my baby on as the responsibility. It's a beautiful, beautiful work.
Yes.
I'm seeking to have now up to 7 ladies around the world who can help lead. So we can offer different time zones. So we can really expand our network.
Yeah.
No, you just sign up, have a sniff at it, and see whether
that will be beautiful. I would really suggest to everybody who's listening to sign up and participate in that connection and that field and that energy, because that will lift you and the world, and that's so necessary at this moment. So that's a beautiful initiative. Very well. Very beautiful. Thank you so much for doing that for the world. That is great.
Those are my favorite Monday mornings. Seriously.
It's Monday morning. Okay. But they can see the recording afterwards if they cannot join on Monday morning. Yes.
We decided Monday mornings is to help us, start the week with an abundance.
Start the week.
And to lift us up, and we're all giggly with excitement every time. You should see, it's so fun.
And how long does it take to participate? Is it an hour or?
It's an hour. We open the gates at 9 a.m. We close the gates at 9:05. So we're very strict. There's no dilly-dallying. No. The circle takes a maximum an hour, and we do lots of fun processes. We talk about fun stuff. We're there for each other. And then we go into our week and, spread our wings.
Wow, that's beautiful. Well, thank you for sharing that. And then one more question. You just mentioned that you always keep on growing and healing. And if in this time of your phase of life, at this moment, is there something that you feel that you are needing to grow again? If I could reset your cell memory, because that's my method, to reset your cell memory unconsciously, where would you like to be reset on, and what would your goal be? What would it be?
I got it. Okay. I would like to reset this whole programming around what it is to be a woman, what it is to be a man, and to be able to really let go of. I sometimes feel I resonate with, it sounds really wacky, right? With the global collective of feminine energy. And I'm working hard on this, and I'll keep doing it. But I notice I feel such resentment towards what has happened to this planet, to how we've been treating children and women specifically, how we've been treating nature. And that is something that can keep me up. And I really have to do my breath work and really let it go.
Yeah.
Because I just noticed it in myself, and I notice it around me. I notice it, when I teach children, and it's just I did a thing on fears with children. These were 3-year-old children, and we did yoga together, and it was super fun. And I said, okay, today we're going to tackle a fear, right? 12 kids. And then there were kids, and I said, okay, what's your biggest fear? What's your biggest fear? And, there were kids saying, I'm not scared of anything, right? Yeah. And then there would be the ones who spontaneously, the big black man, strange men. This is innate. This is 3 years old. These kids have no trauma, really. They're very affluent, healthy.
Cell memory. It just passes on.
So I noticed that cell memory, and I've worked so much on past lives, and it's become very much better. If I look at myself, my little feministic 18-year-old who was still kind of fighting the structure, burning my bras, I've come a way. So I really tuned into that rage and the grief, and I've done so much on that, but I recognize that there's something there. So I'd be open to that.
Oh, wow. And do you also mean that it sometimes feels like a cramp or an urge to actually step up for the feminine energy? Is that?
Yes. Yeah. It's a little kick in the butt every now and again to say, come on, it's not just about you. This is about all of us. This is about all of us. So that's kind of also why I created the Golden Goddess Circle, because I notice it in all feminine beings around me. I'm coaching women for decades now, and I have a daughter, and I have a lot of girlfriends, and it's the same kind of
And is it like you feel the responsibility to do it as soon as possible? Is it like you need?
I've taken that out. I have learned to pace myself.
Yeah.
And that's actually the first word that I always write down things before we have podcasts or things to set my intention. And the words that came through were trust divine timing. That seems to be a topic that our audience, all of us right now, need to tune into more. We need to trust that divine timing. And as long as we've set our intention, as long as we're doing our due diligence, we're keeping a good state, we have to trust that the process is unfolding perfectly.
And now, if when you're saying, okay, I'd like to reset on that specific part in me that knows that it's divine time, trust and trusting the process, but there's still a little part in me that is, okay.
But I always also think a little bit of struggle. We could be chewing on something, right?
Yeah, which is okay.
Invitation to grow. Yeah. So I see it and I'm excited. I've decided to dive into all kinds of new things, and I'm hosting another goddess retreat in autumn here in Austria. So these things all, I have the best job in the world. I get to help others while I'm helping myself.
No, it's the same here. Yeah, same here. Yeah, well, maybe after this podcast we can meet someday, and then or do it online. And
you're welcome to come in South Africa. Well, I'll take you up my favorite mountain, and I'll plunge a river with you anytime.
Oh, that will be lovely. Okay, well, we'll talk again. For now, at the end of the podcast, is there one tip, one quote, one life lesson? You already mentioned so much, but maybe to end this podcast.
Yeah, I'll give you my favorite right now. Okay, so I took this mantra from Gary Hendricks' book, Upper Limit. And I kind of adapted it a bit. Here it goes. I choose to expand into health, love, joy, success, abundance, and freedom, while I inspire those around me to do the same.
Wow. No more words. I think the listeners, the audience should repeat that, rewind it, and make it a mantra. Dear Joy, it was a joy and a pleasure, and I feel very privileged that you took the time to inspire me and my audience and the world. En lieve dames en mensen, ik ben nog helemaal stil ervan. Ik vond het fantastisch en ik hoop jij ook. En je weet het, je kunt meer dan je denkt. Thank you, Joy. Thank you so much.